Hi guys, today we're going to learn how to use resin to make jewelry. Okay, first thing you need to do is make sure you have some safety goggles on and then put on some gloves, either the plastic or the latex. You do not want this stuff to get onto your skin. Okay, we're basically working with epoxy, which is kind of like a plastic material. So it's going to be liquid and then it's going to form into a hard type of material, as you can see here. Okay, hard as a rock. Okay. First thing we need to do is kind of just explore the things we have at our table. Okay, we have a mixing container, we have lubricant for our molds, we have the epoxy resin and the resin catalyst. We'll mix these two together and that's how we will create the resin. And they will get poured into these molds, and I have a variety of molds for you to try and test out. Okay? We also need some fillers. Okay? Fillers are the things that you're going to actually be pouring into your plastic molds. Okay? So I have some pieces of glass here we're going to use, but you can use anything. You can use glitter, you can use seashells, broken jewelry, paper. Okay? The only thing you need to remember is anything that is porous needs to get sealed. So for example, I have this very delicate butterfly wing right here that could get poured into our resin mold. Okay? So for example, for this, in order to seal it, you would need to take some gel medium and just paint it front and back with the gel medium to seal it and let it dry. Okay? But anything that's not porous, like these little sea glass beads, they don't need to be sealed with the gel medium. Okay? So now that we have our fillers, okay, our glass, we know what we're going to pour into the mold. We have our safety goggles on, we have our gloves on. Now it is time to mix our resin and get ready for pouring. Okay? So our first step is to decide what we're going to use, what kind of mold we're going to use. Do we want a flat mold? Do we want something that has a little bit more depth? Okay, there's lots of options for you. Just look in the bin, there's bracelet molds. Okay, so you decide what you're going to use first. Okay, once you've decided, you're going to take the Art Lube 100 Rapid Mold Release. It's kind of like cooking spray. And you're going to spray it into the mold that you're going to use. Okay, so I'm going to use this one that kind of looks like a diamond, spraying it in. If you don't spray it, the resin won't come out. You will not be happy. Okay. Next, we're going to get our tools ready. This is a tablespoon. Okay, so between you four at the table, you will probably need 1 tablespoon of the resin and 1 tablespoon of the catalyst, and that will be enough to make both of your samples. Okay, you will also need something to stir the resin. Okay, so you can either use one of these plastic things, or else have a wooden spoon that is made just for the resin. Okay? So go ahead and take the cap off of the resin, and very carefully you're going to pull off the red cap that's in there. It's going to feel maybe a little bit sticky. Pour a tablespoon of resin into the mixing cup. Okay. Try your best not to get this on the table. Go ahead and put the cap, seal it really well, and then go ahead and get out the resin catalyst, the hardener, and you're going to do the same thing. It has this red plug in it so that it doesn't dry out. Go ahead and pour a tablespoon of hardener into the measuring cup. Make sure you put the cap right back on there. Make sure it's sealed really tight. The next thing you're going to do is take a stir and stir the resin and the hardener. 2 minutes. Okay, if you want to have somebody time for you, go for it. Okay, and I've been mixing for about 2 minutes now, so it should be all good. You may see some bubbles form. That's okay. We're going to get rid of those as we pour. Okay. So again, if you take your tools, make sure you're setting them on a piece of paper towel or something. Don't lay anything with resin directly onto the table. It'll be a big, huge mess. Okay. All right. So we've sprayed our mold with the Art Lube 100 Rapid Mold Release. So we should be good there. And now we're going to take and pour our resin into our mold. Okay. So the very first thing is to cover with a thin layer on the base. So, you know, I'm using this one's a little bit more three-dimensional. If you're using one that's a little bit more flat, you just pour a little bit in so it kind of covers the bottom, and then it's time to let it sit for 15 minutes and kind of harden up. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna pour. Making sure there's like no little hairs or anything on there. There we go. Pour. And just really carefully let kind of a layer kind of sit in there. Okay, so time for 15 minutes. If you see any air bubbles or anything, now's the time to take, I have like a small little needle in here. You can kind of take and pop the bubbles if you see any really big ones. You can also take a hair dryer. You want to be about 4 inches away. Take a hair dryer and you can kind of just heat it up. Once you see like no bubbles, you just kind of let it sit for about 15 minutes, and then we're gonna, all right, 15 minutes has passed, so it's time to add our fillers. Just a reminder, you should still be wearing your safety goggles. You still need to have gloves on. We do not want to get resin in our eyeball or on our skin. It is not something that would feel very good. Okay, so you still have that excess resin in the measuring cup to fill the top. At this point, your resin should still be pretty liquefied, but it should have hardened up a bit over the last 15 minutes. Okay? So our next step is to just add our fillers. Okay? So for me, I'm going to add some of this pieces of sea glass. I'm just going to kind of drop them in, position them how I want. I also have these sticks if we need to like help ourselves get the fillers in there the way we want them to be. And remember, there's still going to be room at the top to pour more resin. So kind of position those down the way we would want them. Once we have it the way we want, we'll take the rest of our resin. It's already in a mixing cup, and we'll slowly pour that on the top. We do not need to wait another 15 minutes. Real slow, we don't want it to overflow. Okay, perfect. Now, if we see any like really big air bubbles, we can go ahead and take a needle and pop them. Also, remember, hair dryer is your friend. About 4 inches away. You don't want to be right on top of it. Okay? We want to turn the hair dryer on and blow some air to pop some bubbles. You can do that. And now we're just going to let this guy sit and dry. It will take about 72 hours until it can cure completely hard, but about 24 hours, it will be ready to pop out of the mold. So pretty much next class period, you can take it and pop it out of the mold. It'll still be a little bit soft, and then you'll just kind of let it sit for the next 72 hours and harden up. Okay? For cleanup with this, any sort of thing that has resin on it, like your mixing spoons, the first step you want is to take some paper towel and like wipe it clean first. You'll want to take the paper towel and wipe inside of your mixing cup and then wash it out with some warm soapy water and then dry it off, okay? And then you'll be done. Then you can take your gloves off. If you got any on the table, please wipe it up. It does get sticky and it does get kind of filmy, okay? And next I'll show you what the finish. All right, so once your resin pieces come out of the molds, about 3 days takes to completely harden, you're going to want to do the finishing touches, okay? One of those things is going to be to sand it using the Dremel drill. A couple things about the Dremel drills is a power tool, and you do need to wear safety goggles, okay? You do not want little shards or pieces of resin getting in your eyeball, okay? Gloves are not necessary here, but you do need to make sure that you are wearing the proper eyewear, okay? So the way this Dremel drill works, you can see there's a setting from 1 to 5. Obviously the 1, it goes less intense, the 5 will go very fast. For resin, you do not need to go on 5. 1 will be just fine, okay? And anywhere where you have bumps, you can just sand those right off using the drill. Okay, you can just kind of polish it with your finger or a damp cloth. And like you can see on this one, we screwed a little eye hook into the top so it can hang off of a necklace. Okay, so if that is something you want, you can do that as well as part of your finishing touches.